Jennifer Weber is the co-creator, director, and choreographer of the Hip Hop Nutcracker, coming to Chicago December 12th through the 17th. Jennifer, thank you so much for your time today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
We are celebrating hip hop's 50th anniversary, and this is a wonderful way to give this genre a little bit of a holiday celebration.
Absolutely. The Hip Hop Nutcracker has been celebrating hip hop since the beginning. And one of the things that we have in our show that really celebrates the 50 years of hip hop is, our show starts with Kurtis Blow, who's like a real icon of hip hop, and his presence is the 50 years of hip hop, and we have that on stage, and we represent so many old school styles of dance, so this show really pays tribute to like the origins of hip hop, in terms of the movement and the choreography. And then it sort of is moving it forward and beyond the 50 years in this way that, hip hop has always been about, samples. And in this show, we're sampling the Nutcracker.
Because oftentimes people might make this a tradition as far as going to see the Nutcracker. We go as a family, we go every year, and this is a great way for maybe audiences who maybe didn't feel connected to a different version of it to feel seen and to get excited to see the show.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is a show that is for everyone. If you love the ballet, this is a show for you. If you love hip hop, this is a show for you. It is a great show for families, for kids. It's just a really special thing because we take the classical score. So we have Tchaikovsky's iconic soundtrack of the holidays, and then amazing hip hop dancers. And we are telling the story of the Nutcracker. We're just translating it into a different vocabulary. So no matter which way is like your entry point, if it's you love the music, you love the story, you love celebrating the holidays with your family, you love hip hop, whatever it is, this is a show that like just brings lots of people together. And it's so joyful and it's so inspiring. And just to see this level talent on stage up close is really just a really special thing.
Talk a little bit about the choreography.
Well, I mean, there's definitely no ballet in the show, so it's not a merging of styles. It is pure hip hop. But what when we sort of started the process, it was like about sort of looking at the narrative of the Nutcracker and how do we translate these characters, into the language of hip hop. So for a really good example, the Nutcracker, one of the big scenes is like the battle of the mice and the soldiers. And we, of course, have that scene in our show to the same part of the music. But instead of doing ballet, our mice are b-boys and b-girls, and our soldiers are poppers. And we have this battle of these two different styles coming together, on stage. And so it's like just looking at the different moments within the Nutcracker and looking at how we can translate those into our vocabulary.
Do you remember maybe one of your first experiences of seeing the Nutcracker and maybe those wheels turning in your head of like, I love this show, but here's how I kind of see a future of it?
To be perfectly honest, I had never seen the Nutcracker before I started working on it. I definitely did not grow up going to ballet. And so I was running a company in New York, and we were sort of experimenting with hip hop and classical music and hip hop and narrative and these different ideas. And someone actually brought the idea to me and said, what about the Nutcracker? And I was like, whoa, the Nutcracker is a massive, just a massive piece to take on. And at the time, my company was very, very small. We only had 6 dancers. Not enough for a Nutcracker. But when I got the soundtrack, which was sort of my entry point, I started listening to it and I was like, oh my gosh, I know all this music. It's so familiar because it's music you hear all the time during the holidays when you're out shopping, on commercials. It's like, it's so famous. And then I watched, there's a famous recording with Macaulay Culkin playing the Nutcracker Prince. And I watched that and I just saw like all the storytelling elements and all the character and thought it will be totally possible to translate this work, into the language of hip hop, because ultimately, hip hop is a great device for character building, for storytelling, and for, bringing people together.
And as you mentioned before, Kurtis Blow is in the show, a hip hop icon, a hip hop legend. Talk a little bit about, connecting with him and getting him to be, a part of the show once you've explained, it's a twist on the Nutcracker.
Well, one of Kurtis Blow's first tracks was Christmas rap, so he's been mixing, hip hop in the holidays since the very beginning, and it's been incredible to work with him. His spirit, his energy, it really sets off the show in an incredible way. He opens the show with like sort of like throwback to old school hip hop classics, and then he closes the show with the breaks, and in between we do the Nutcracker, and that sounds crazy, but it totally works.
When you're looking out into the audience, where maybe the parents or the grandparents are like, well, let's go see this show. What's it like to see those faces of all those generations connecting together?
It's really special because there is like sort of entertainment for kids, and then there's like entertainment for adults, and sometimes they don't like each other's entertainment. But this is really a show where like parents and kids will appreciate it equally. And it's something like you just look out in the audience and everybody's smiling and everybody's bopping, everybody's dancing, especially the kids. They really go crazy because it's just there's something special about a show that just promotes like love and joy and magic and community, and people just like respond to hip hop in a very special way because it's much more accessible than other dance styles, because it's more familiar and people are like, it just has this connection that people just understand.
Awesome. Well, Jennifer, thank you so much for your time today. The Hip Hop Nutcracker is at the Cadillac Palace Theater, December 12th through 17th. Make sure you get those tickets, BroadwayChicago.com for more info, and happy holidays to you.
Happy holidays.